I was looking around, right, and you remember I told you guys about how on the local level that the Army had been doing cross-training with the police on house-to-house gun confiscation and things of that nature, right? And lo and behold, here we go, June 26, 2009, Homeland Security and U.S. Army plan invasion of the state. And I'll give you the link to that from newswithviews.com. And basically, here's the deal, right? The Obama, the Pentagon, and Department of Homeland Security got a hold of all the individual states, police departments, and different disaster response teams and said, look, if anything happens, we're coming in and taking over. We're in charge of all the disasters, and they come in and they've federalized all the police. And so what that now means is they've taken away... See, generally, the individual states were and under the Constitution are responsible for things like their own disaster management and things of that nature. And the reason that they did that is because people that live with each other genuinely want to help each other because you live there. And so when something bad happens there, you want to fix it. Whereas people from somewhere else, they don't care about you. Okay? People, I mean, even from the next state over, the rivalry is so bad. People are always, yeah, not my hood, man. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So, even people from the next state aren't going to be as friendly to you as the people that are local. And that's why things like local law enforcement were developed. Because the locals know what kind of person is when they get in trouble. And so they usually mete out pretty good justice that way. And so all of these checks and balances, right, and plus the major check and balances is that each state had its own National Guard, its own law enforcement, in case that it had to defend itself from actual tyranny from its own government. Okay? Those were the main functions of these different agencies. And that's why you see the local sheriff departments are being stripped or forced into city police forces, which are run really differently from the sheriffs, and they don't even have to take the same oath as the sheriff has to take as far as protecting the public and whatnot. So the Army, together with Obama, has come in at all times now, right? And you know, I've talked about the banking holiday and all that.
Actually, we'll have a bank holiday when they don't open for a long time. And what I envision that could happen, maybe in the fall, for any number of reasons, a short-term shutdown, which would mean checks would not clear, credit and debit cards wouldn't work, and the price of gold and silver would go up. And that's why we tell people to try to keep $5,000 worth of currency in small bills for these kinds of emergencies, maybe even $10,000 depending upon what you spend. And of course have plenty of dehydrated and freeze-dried foods in, and a filter and something to defend your family just in case it gets nasty. First time around, I don't think it will. If it happens more than once, it will. And I think that summarizes it. We just talked about civil insurrection, and we were talking about California, and that's a good possibility. And that could shut things down. California's bankruptcy could shut banks down in California. And the federal government's already told them they're not going to bail them out.
And I'm going to put a clip in here of Bob Chapman and what he's got to say about what's going on.
Well, if this bill is passed, and the health bill is passed, and the investigate the Fed bill is not passed, and we do not get tariffs on goods and services, then what is going to happen is there will definitely be revolution in the United States. And half of you people are going to die. So get ready for it. That's where this is all headed. And I've been right 98% of the time for the last 20 years.
Reckoning has arrived for California's state government. It will not be pretty. Spending cuts and tax hikes are unavoidable. On June 10th, California Controller John Chang said in an official statement, quote, "Without immediate solutions from the governor and legislature, we are less than 50 days away from a meltdown of state government." That's on June 10th. He's anticipating that by the end of July, if they don't receive some assistance, the state government of California is going to be in meltdown. Now, I don't know that that means an absolute collapse, but it means big trouble.
And then I'm going to come back with... if you look, right, the BATF, okay, is already doing door-to-door searches for firearms, okay? I know a lot of you think, right, well, when they start going door-to-door, we're going to do this and that. Well, I'm telling you right now, they've already done over, just in the last couple of months, 7,500 or so door-to-door checks for guns. Actually knocking on the doors, asking to see what was bought. And they knocked on a pastor's door that bought a couple of pistols for target shooting. And then when he said that, they come off with a smart remark of, "Oh yeah, sure, that's, sure, it sounds suspicious to me." I mean, that wasn't exactly remarks, but that was the way that it was put off. And I'll insert the clip here so you can see that from the article. So they're already going door to door. They're already taking guns, and this is federal policy. Okay, now, right about the exact time, I mean, they're doing, they're doing the drills now, the NLE and Northcom drills all across the country. They moved all this equipment in place, and all those drills were to take over the country. Right at the same time that California's budget is finished, you heard Chapman talk about 50 days before California completely collapsed and it would be the cause of a banking holiday, more than likely, and martial law. And the riots they're talking about happening is going to be Obama's quick fix to immigration, okay? Because the amount of money that it would have taken to bail out California as compared to what they've given all the banks and everything is like a drop in the bucket. And so what they see is this massive uprising of riots that's going to happen in LA. And it's going to be about 50% illegal immigrants doing it. And they're going to list that as terrorism, and that's going to give them an excuse, of course, to round up all the illegal aliens and get rid of them. But they're going to round up all the dissidents along with that. That is their big plan. And they plan to set it off at a maximum. Right now, there's only a couple other states that are in the same position as California. And I'll list a link to an article that talks about that over there in the sidebar. I think there's 14 states, but really 3 are only at critical mass. So they can really localize the rioting, right? It'll be massive enough so that if it's televised, that it'll draw intense reaction from the public, but still not large enough for it to be any kind of super resistance to agencies like the federal government and the Army and Northcom and whatnot. Now, what remains to be seen is whether they go for the guns in all the cities at that time, because then, well, then that'll kick off something that, as Bob Chapman talked about.
In the end, if that sort of thing happens, as I said, we'll lose half the population. But I can promise you one thing. The people who are doing this to us are not going to get away. They are not going to win. They're going to lose. And I talk about this on every program, just to let them know we're not going to give up. We're going to fight until the bitter end, and we're going to take them out on the way. So if they think they're going to enslave America, they're mistaken. They're not going to. They're going to lose all of their power and all of their wealth, and that will probably last for 3 or 4 generations before they get going again to do it all over again.
Very clearly will definitely lead to revolution in this country. And it's my contention that they want that. They want that, and this is their answer to when I talked about a great enough crisis to ram things like eugenics through, or to ram things, to make people make extreme decisions, because that's what people do in times of great stress and great outrage. People make extreme decisions like 9/11. And like 9/11, during 9/11, they were running drills of planes flying in to the Pentagon and the Trade Center, exactly when planes were flying into the Pentagon and the Trade Center. And so they say, paralyzed our military. Well, now they are running drills.